Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is a Monday after a Gator victory. That means we'll have JC here in just a second, and that means we'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com join the program, talk about the Gators win. My computer again, for whatever reason, I'm trying to read the Facebook Live stuff, and it's not popping up. I don't know why it does this some days. So, all right, JC. Well, welcome to the program, JC. We got technical difficulties on my computer screen here. Down Facebook.
That never happens, does it? Hey, good to be with you again. Monday, victory in November is always a good thing. A victory anytime is a good thing, right? QB and the Gators have now scored 35 points in 9 straight games. This is just a far cry from what we saw years ago under the McElwain era, and here is Dan Mullen dialing up plays for Florida receivers to make plays. And, Trask is the guy that's delivering the mail, and these guys are coming through. I mean, a week ago, Zipperer came in. He sat in for Pitts, did a great job. We have Keymore Gamble now. It's tight end university at Florida, right? We got tight ends everywhere. Tight ends running crazy at Florida. Tight ends here and tight ends there. And you've got a quarterback who's got time to throw. I can't tell you how impressed I am with Delance. As a freshman. He is just,
he's not a freshman, JC. He played last year.
He played last year. I'm sorry, but he seemed like, I don't remember him. It seemed like, it felt like he was, okay, so he's a young player, right?
They pretty much have the line's very experienced. Very experienced.
But they're playing so well, and Trask is clean, and even when he wants to run the ball, he's got a few little lanes to run through. I'm just impressed with that offense, and I tell you, the tight ends are just really turning it up for Florida. It just makes the defense play much more loosely when you are scoring points left and right. And let's tip our cap to the Vanderbilt Commodores. They showed up winless, but they weren't going to lay down and die. And they came out and hit Florida as hard as they could. And, they provided us some opposition here. A lot more than I can say from what Kentucky did in Alabama over the weekend. So, who is, by the way, coming here next week. So, yeah, a good win for Florida. And, Trask, I think, is in line. Not that Coach Mullen wants to talk about this, but he's certainly in line right now as the number one candidate for the Heisman Trophy.
No. Coach Mullen, he may not want to talk about it, but his play calling, he's trying to get that kid as many touchdown passes as possible. I don't blame him one bit. We already got a Facebook Live. I was waiting for this. We got a Facebook Live comment.
You're back.
Brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Chris says, we just need to get set on third down defense. Maybe we should not make wholesale changes and keep the same personnel. Yeah, because we were running people on and running people off. Vanderbilt's tempo was getting us. We couldn't get lined up early in the game. And, that's what I was telling you, JC, before the show. Sometimes you got to kind of feel the opponent out the first couple of drives. I think once we settled in, saw what they were trying to do, we made some adjustments, and Vanderbilt didn't do much. But, and here's Rick. Rick says defense still needs work. Okay, do you want to answer this question for me or response, JC? Because I've been talking about it all year long. If you watch any game, watch any game at any level, is anyone playing good defense these days?
It's hard to find. It really is.
You can say Alabama did the other night.
I can give you one team that is, but it's also a function of where they're playing and the environment they're playing in. And Northwestern is playing good defense, but they're playing teams that have no offenses. Wisconsin's an offensively challenged football team. And, all this press that Graham Mertz got, right, how great he was, this and that. Wisconsin, they've never been very dynamic on offense. They're very basic, vanilla, cookie cutter type offense. But no, I would say, since you asked that question, Northwestern is playing. They've got the numbers right now defensively, but the teams they're playing
Okay. Well, let me tell you
offensively
this.
challenged.
Let me tell you this. Does Northwestern play the Buckeyes this year?
Not well, they could, but they'd have it in the regular season.
I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to get 35 minimum put on them. Yes, it's a great story. They look as slow as some high school. I mean, they are slow. The Big Ten is slow except for Ohio State.
Yes,
now, Indiana.
Well,
Indiana was down 35-7. They were down 28 points, and then Ohio State just fell asleep. Give Michael Penix Jr. and his receivers, they made some unbelievable plays and brought them back. And it was a good game.
Yeah.
But Ohio State could have blown them out, but they didn't have that killer instinct. So, anyway, back to the Gators. I thought we played well. People can say we spoke around, whatever you want to say. I thought we played extremely well. Vanderbilt's not an easy place to play. You know, the funny thing about it is, JC, I don't know if you're aware of this, maybe our listeners are or are not, is the Gators were like a high school team from Buchholz traveling down to play Vanguard. Get dressed on the bus and ride down to the stadium with your shoulder pads, you know, sitting up on the – that's what they did. They got dressed at the hotel, okay? They get to the arena like 50 minutes before kickoff because Dan didn't want to have to go in the locker room for – you know, they did everything they possibly could to avoid anybody catching the coronavirus like what happened at A&M. We don't really know how that all happened.
No, like what happened at Clemson.
But here's the other thing, JC. It was just I don't know if you saw this, but you know in high school where you go down underneath the goalpost at halftime and gather as a team and mom and dad, mom brings out the orange slices for the kids and the bananas. The Gators didn't go in the locker room. They were in the end zone for this game. I'm curious, and I'm going to ask Scott Carter this. Did the Gators even shower after the game? I'm serious.
Well, I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine traveling without showering after that game?
Well, Coach Mullen may have said, "Hey, just keep your gear on, hop on the plane, we'll shower when we get home."
Out of here. Let's get out of here.
I'm anxious to find out because they did not go in the locker room. It was like old high school days. Get dressed, ride on the bus with your full gear, except your shoulder pads and your helmet. So anyway, I thought it was a good win. It was Vanderbilt.
It was.
I was impressed with Vanderbilt's quarterback. I thought they threw and caught the ball well. Trask had another good day. Emory played a little bit at the end. So, I mean, look, it's the game. Let me tell you something. Alabama is unbelievable on offense. As good as Florida's offense is, Alabama's is better. I'll sit here and tell you, it's a lot smoother. It's more timing. We win a lot of plays off of jump balls and things of that nature. And, I mean, Alabama scored 63 and could have scored 80 if they wanted.
They could have. And it's, you know, they're just, I mean, what would they have, 2 or 3 weeks off, something crazy? And you never would have thought that team hadn't played a football game in 2 or 3 weeks, and they just jump out on the field and do what they want to. You know, there really is. There's such a difference between the haves and the have-nots in this league, and I think it's pretty much like that in most leagues. You got 4 teams that really have it right now, and you've got, I don't know, 8 or 10 teams that are just kind of finding their way through this very difficult season. It's too bad that A&M and Ole Miss didn't get to play QB. That would have been so entertaining to watch those 2 teams go up and down the field, or at least see how many points they could have scored against each other. Because right now Mississippi is hitting their stride with that quarterback, and Texas A&M is a hot team, and they're ranked 5th or 6th, I guess. So yeah, that would have been fun to watch. But I think overall the day was pretty much went as expected in the conference. I just was surprised that Kentucky just laid down, but Alabama must be really that good. The LSU-Arkansas game was entertaining. I feel bad for Felipe. Tennessee kind of tried to hang in there with Auburn, but, you know, Auburn somehow just kind of –
I got some stats on those 2 games. But real quick, let me read these Facebook Lives, and I got some good stats for you. Patrick, good friend of the program, he has a comment here brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. He says, FSU played great defense this weekend. Yes, they did. Scott says, I'm actually sick of fans ripping on the players and Coach Grantham as we as a fan base need to keep supporting them. I agree 100%. we're fine on defense. People watch football. Quit watching only the Gators play, and then you will understand how hard it is to play defense. I mean, it's ridiculous. But here are the stats that I'm going to give you, JC. I'm pulling them up. I get this stuff off Twitter when I'm laying in bed. Speaking of Felipe played really well. He threw for like 300 and something yards. But listen to this. Felipe this is what his stats on throws of 20 yards or more Saturday against LSU. He was 5 of 5 for 245 yards and a touchdown. He completed 5 balls for 245 yards.
A hell of a lot of yardage.
That's crazy.
25 yards a pass average.
Okay, here's the stat I wanted to give you for your mighty Tennessee Vols that you loved about week 2 or 3.
And who you picked this weekend against Auburn. Go ahead.
Well, I thought they could keep it. Well, they almost covered. He goes, so with their loss, they've lost 5 straight losses for Tennessee by double digits, okay? That has never happened in the history of their program that started in 1891.
Oh, man. Wow.
In their last 4 games, Tennessee has been outscored. Listen to this. The last 4 games, Tennessee's been scored 98-7 in the second half.
Oh, my goodness.
There's no way Jeremy Pruitt, they're firing him this year. Book it.
Ooh, you think that's a done deal, huh?
Why would you keep him? I don't care how much money it costs.
Well, it's
going to be the same thing next year.
They can get.
I don't know when does his buyout go down dramatically if you wait another year?
Yeah, I would certainly wait till the end of the year though, so you could knock off a year off that buyout. But yeah, I mean Tennessee's just disappointing to me. I thought they were going to have a better season. I saw them winning 6 or maybe 7 games.
Well, they had it just didn't work out. No. We need to pull up the archives of our show. Remember at the beginning of the year they had the longest winning streak in the SEC, and I told who have they beaten? They had not beaten anybody with a winning record, and it's still true.
Yeah, they were. They're just a bad football team. I don't know what made me think that maybe they would be improved. I guess the wins did, but yeah, they're losers. And listen, that game with Vanderbilt's in question. Certainly, I mean Vanderbilt could play with them.
Vanderbilt will beat Tennessee. You watch.
Okay. Well, should we talk about how we did on the Peachland Picks contest? Or you want to blow that off?
Chris, real quick. Chris here says Shane Vandy always plays as hard. I think you beat Vandy 42-21 in 1992. I don't remember. I only got to play Vanderbilt once. That was my senior year. Yeah,
well, Vanderbilt, give them credit for hanging in there. But I'm going to give you credit for trying to hang in there too. But you went 5-6 after last night's Kansas City Raiders game, and the Wizard here went 8-3. That puts you at 50-37, which, if you do the math, is a 57% win percentage. And puts me at 54-33, so I'm 4 games up on you, which, if you do the math, puts me at a 62% win percentage. So both percentages are in the positive and will keep you eating at least 2 times a day if you had to make a living doing this in Las Vegas. You had losers with Cincinnati and UCF, which should have won. Cincinnati chose not to score at the end when the running back clearly had an open path to the end zone. He chose not to. He chose to take a dive. You had Tennessee inexplicably. You had South Carolina inexplicably. And you had Ohio State, which at one point in the game was winning, but they did not cover the 20 against Indiana. I took Indiana. I took Auburn. And we both had Oklahoma. I took Arkansas. You had LSU, and LSU covered that game. So, it's, tonight we have the Rams in Tampa Bay. You got the Bucks. I got the Rams. And Rams are getting 3.5. And, for the most part, we're really good at this. Yeah.
Yep.
Peachland Dental. I'll tell you what, my guy at Peachland Dental's getting his money's worth down there in Port Orange.
Yeah, as long as he's following your picks, JC. If you want to send us a text, Tom wants to call in. We don't take calls, but you can text us, and I'll read your comment on the air. It's 352-353-7465.
Tom wants to get in there.
Don't forget, we'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com in the second portion of the show. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. November is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Well, JC, what else stood out to you this weekend?
Well, the Gators are winning these 50-50 balls. I like that. What else stuck out to me was I was shocked when I saw that Clemson and Florida State wasn't going to happen because of something that happened, I guess, before they traveled, but they traveled anyway. I don't know. Norvell says they're going to try to make up that game. I can't see it being played. I don't know why it would be, but that was a surprise to me. I think Indiana hanging with Ohio State with the ball, trying to tie the game at the end stuck out. I loved watching that Central Florida Cincinnati game. I think the Bearcats are the real deal. I thought they were strong, offensively, and they didn't make a lot of mistakes. Northwestern Wisconsin in the Big Ten. I think it's clear now that Northwestern's got the lead in the West. I think Iowa has really turned it on and played better. I thought they were an easy pick over Penn State, very easy pick. And they've won 3 straight games rather convincingly, so Iowa's playing well. Some good games in the Pac-12. The Oregon-UCLA game was entertaining, but, it's so far out there. And
speaking of that, JC, I watched some of that. The UCLA quarterback who's been starting for about a year and a half, he's very average. I don't know why they kept playing him. He was out due to COVID, so they inserted the backup, and he freaking went off. So I think UCLA is going to be a much better team. They found their quarterback. Having said that, JT Daniels threw for a ton of yards against a Mississippi State team who only had 49 scholarship athletes.
They
were playing walk-ons on the back end, but they barely beat Mississippi State.
I saw that too. I was going to mention that. Yeah.
I just hear all these Georgia fans talking about why wasn't JT Daniels playing before? Listen, sometimes coaches make mistakes. They don't know. Think about our coach. If Felipe Franks isn't hurt, Kyle Trask ain't playing.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. Really, it's amazing, isn't it, how Kyle Trask goes from Nowheresville to Heisman Trophy candidate?
Well, use my story for example. Put it this way: if Galen Hall would have played me, maybe he's still the head coach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can think about that.
Think about it.
You may have played under Galen Hall, but you may not have had the numbers you did.
No, that's true. But I'm using it as an example. Sometimes you just don't know what you have until they get an opportunity.
Till you play, and maybe Daniels wasn't ready to play health-wise. So, I mean, this is a kid that's had a serious injury that he's trying to come back from, and he got a shot. Mississippi State played hard; they played well, but just didn't have the horses there at the end. But give those kids some credit, the ones who did stick with this team. I mean, a lot of guys have bailed on that program, and they're out. And so he's got to rebuild this thing from literally the ground up at Mississippi State. And it's going to be tough this weekend when they have to play Mississippi with all that offense. It's going to be a tough game for Mississippi State.
Yeah, but Mississippi's defense is very good if they get all their starters back. We got a Facebook Live. We got a text here on the Titan War text line. It comes from Daryl. He says, "Listen to y'all from my hotel in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. The ball fans are few and far between."
Man, it's amazing. It's amazing what's happened there. And Oklahoma also stuck out to me. They're the best team in the Big 12, and they had their way with OSU.
Yeah, but Iowa State's going to be the team that wins it.
They are, because they've only got 1 loss, and Oklahoma's got 2. Yep.
Yeah. Real quick, NFL wise, feel awful for Joe Burrow. I mean, he's going to have a phenomenal NFL career. He is legit torn ACL. Gary says here. Says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, would you have pulled? Did Tua get pulled yesterday?
Yes. He got replaced in the second half with Fitzpatrick, and the rust was on. I mean, he just didn't look that good, that smooth. And the Dolphins, that's a bad loss there to have to take. It solidifies Buffalo in the division. But yes, Tua was replaced, but Tua is still listed as the starter for Miami. So I didn't get to see that game, but I did see some of his stats. They didn't look very good. So I have no problem, because he's still their guy, but they're in contention to make the playoffs. And so if they felt like Fitz could come in with some of his magic, and he almost brought them back. He almost brought them back. But, credit Denver. They played hard, and they won that game as an underdog at home, and they won it. I think yesterday, that Chiefs Raiders game just shows how closely those teams seem to play. Gruden and Andy Reid know each other from decades on by, And so that's always going to be a really tight game. I thought the Colts were impressive. They beat the Packers by 3. That was good. How about the Dallas Cowboys? Somehow they find their way now up to 3 wins. They're tied for the lead in the win column in that awful NFC East. But the Cowboys with Andy Dalton go to beat Minnesota. And that was a perfect spot for Dallas to win that game because Minnesota was coming off a very physical game with the Chicago Bears on Monday night. Dallas had the week off prior, got some guys healthy, came in and beat the Vikings as a big underdog, but it shouldn't have surprised so many people because the Vikings had just played on Monday night and they played a physical game against the Bears, and teams for some reason after they play the Chicago Bears have a hard time the following week, and it's probably because of how physical those games usually go. Cleveland muddles around and wins a game again, and then the Titans going up there to Baltimore. The Titans own the Ravens. I mean, they just do. They were a 6.5-point dog, and they won the game outright by 6. Derrick Henry is hard to deal with.
Well, they came from behind. At one time, that game was like 21-7. We just had somebody here. I just lost it on Facebook Live. They said Tua hurt his ankle. So did he get hurt, or did they pull him?
No, I heard. To me, he was pulled because they wanted to try to do better on offense. He may have hurt his ankle, but the way I understood it, watching it, was that they just replaced him because he wasn't effective in the game. Maybe I missed something, but either or, they lose, and now they got 13 points. QB 13 points against Denver ain't going to cut it, my man. And now they play the Jets next week.
I got a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. It comes from Tom. Mm-hmm. Tom says, here's my Heisman Trophy prediction. Mac Jones will win the Heisman. Vote on the night of the presentation. The more votes will come in overnight, and CNN will declare Kyle Trask the winner.
Yeah, that's right. I get it, Tom. I get it. That's game. That's going to come down to who wins that game and who plays better in that game.
And Mac played really well the other night. He only played one series in the second half.
Yeah,
but he played well.
What I love about what Saban does and what most coaches do is they leave their ones in for the backup to be effective. I think that's right. I think that's the way to do it. Harris and Smith and Mechie were all in the game when they put in the young player, Young. He had a chance. He has a chance with the ones in there, and I think that's right. That's the right thing to do for that backup.
Yep, at Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with JC, got a few more minutes with him, and then we'll be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com.
Good. Yeah, he's good.
Everybody likes Tom's post. They think it's pretty funny. Tua, okay, so Chris says on Facebook Live, Tua was pulled. The coach said he will be the starter next week.
Yes, he's their guy. I read that, and I knew I wasn't being. I didn't have hallucinations here. But listen, Tua he's a rookie, right? And he's learning football at a much different level, at a much different speed. But he didn't make many mistakes when he was at Alabama. He had injury issues, but he was largely very accurate, very effective, and that should translate over into the NFL game. But you have to give him a chance first. I mean, he's only played a couple games, so
we got a lot of people that love the Dolphins because I just got another text here from Larry. Larry says Tua stunk it up. The entire team was out-coached, out-hustled, and outplayed by the Broncos. He was benched.
It's called the NFL, and your success there is not for long in many cases. And in the NFL, anybody on any day, we've talked about this 100,000 times, can really make you look bad. There are pros everywhere getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, okay? And even though they play the Jets next week, don't expect this guy to light it up for 400 yards. The Jets are going to give him a hell of a game next week, right? And it's not going to be easy. It just isn't. And the Jets haven't won a game yet, but they played the Chargers hard yesterday. Look, it's going to be tough for this kid until he gets comfortable, and it's going to take some time. You can't expect him to just throw him in there and say, let's go light him up. You're playing Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and Arkansas this week. No, you're not. And so it's going to be a challenge for him, but he'll get there, and I believe in the kid, but as do the Dolphins. But yesterday was a bad day. It was a bad day. Guess what? The Denver Broncos are a capable team. Their record may not show that they're going to win the division, but they're tough. they can win. They can beat you on any given day. So look, give the Broncos some credit. They got millionaires too.
Patrick says here, Trask, he gets Trask stats from the other day, Mac Jones from the other day. He says Trask has 13 more TDs than Mac Jones. This is not even a comparison. As much as I love Trask, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to have to disagree with that because Mac has not played nearly as much as Trask has in the games this year. Kyle's had a phenomenal year. Mac has too. It's simple. Whoever plays the best in Atlanta will win the Heisman Trophy. That's simple.
I agree.
JC, we're talking about quarterbacks. Quarterbacks make you drive your offense and win games. Michigan comes from behind, beats a lowly Rutgers team. But you know why? Do you know why?
Go ahead, tell me. I watched it, but go ahead. Tell me.
Okay. Joe Milton, who was supposed to be this 5-star quarterback that stunk it up since he's played, they finally benched him. Cade McNamara comes in, goes 28 of 36 for 260 and 4 touchdowns.
Boom.
So Harbaugh may have found a quarterback that changes the entire season around. And it just, it just goes to show you it's the quarterback, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. Although Rutgers had a chance with a 45-yard field goal to win the game, the kid hooked it. And give Shiano credit for getting those kids ready to play. I mean, this is Rutgers. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. And they were right there to win that game, and it's a shame for Rutgers. They had it. But, give that kid McNamara credit. Maybe Michigan has now, found something. But they're going to get absolutely housed against Ohio State. They're going to get killed. And look at Ohio State's schedule. Michigan, Michigan State, and I think Rutgers. I think. So, I mean, these 3 games, Justin Fields, forget it. He had 3 interceptions against Indiana. That's the toughest game they're going to have. And they're going to end up going 7-0, assuming nothing gets canceled. And somehow the committee's going to have to place them in the 4-team playoff. And then they're going to play in Northwestern in the championship game. Whoopee. And
it's still amazing to me that Penn State has not won a game after being a top 10 preseason team.
Dude, they've gagged. They gagged. I tried telling you a week ago, they just don't care. They're done. And it is amazing. You said, oh, maybe they're not that good. But you're right. They were a challenge.
They ain't very good.
I know, but that's a program. No, they're bad. But that's a program that was challenging for the conference championship here in recent years. And they've just gone. They've disappeared. They've absolutely disappeared, like the fans at Happy Valley. And it is surprising. It's very surprising how weak they are. And they're weak. They're bad.
Yeah, they're horrible. But
they're bad.
Yeah, but this week we got games on a few games Thursday. Got a lot of games on Friday. So holidays. We may have to pick all our games on Wednesday.
Okay,
we'll have to figure that out.
I'm going to be traveling, but we'll zoom it up, baby, and we'll be ready to go on Wednesday morning. And we'll pick some games if you want to. You just let me know. We'll see how it works out.
Here's Patrick again. He says their stats will very likely be similar in the SEC championship game. If Mac has 1 more TD than Trask and Bama wins, I don't think it's enough for Mac to win the Heisman because how far. But what he doesn't understand is the Heisman Trophy voters, they look at the big picture. Alabama's on TV every week. They know that Mac Jones didn't even play the 3rd and 4th. He played 1 series in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
Played. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes numbers tell the story, sometimes they don't. So look, it's a 2-horse race. Whoever plays the best in Atlanta is going to win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. I mean, this is not geometry here. The Alabama defense, you have to wonder. I mean, is Florida going to run it up and down the field on those guys? They only allowed 3 points to Kentucky, but they were vulnerable in the first half, and Kentucky just didn't execute. But Florida will execute. Kentucky missed some easy passes. Kentucky missed some easy plays that Florida's probably not going to miss. That game's going to be very up and down. It's going to be very exciting to watch. And, at least we have that to look forward to in December because the rest of the season just seems kind of like a formality, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like a formality? Alabama's going to play Auburn. That's going to be interesting this weekend. And then they play Arkansas for some reason afterwards. Florida's going to play Kentucky and Tennessee. And that's it. So, it's time to get to December. We're going to head right on into December knowing what's going to collide. You're going to have these 2 teams just bound. And if it's a close game, don't be surprised if the committee, if Florida wins, don't be surprised if both those teams end up in the Final Four. It could very easily happen.
Well, if Florida wins, I think Alabama But Alabama will definitely go. I think both Florida and Alabama. Alabama wins. Alabama will be the only team.
Yes.
A&M may get some love. We'll see what the other teams around the country do.
Well, we'll see. It's up to that Notre Dame Clemson game, right? That's where it's going to come down.
Yeah. What did you think about Dabo's comments, JC, before we let you go?
Well, what can Clemson do right now, really? I don't know. I kind of just Clemson is just waiting. Trevor Lawrence is just waiting. They want to play, and it's just been such a mess. It's so messy. What did you think?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the whole story. I didn't read it all, but something about, I guess, the player that tested positive was on the plane, was in Tallahassee. I don't really know, but
I think,
anyway.
Look, the cynical person in me says, with no basis, that FSU was looking for any reason not to play that game, and don't believe that they really are looking forward to playing Clemson in December, unless they want to watch somebody score 75 points on them. That's the cynical person to me. The other person says, well, listen, you have to watch for safety. You have to be careful. That team traveled to Tallahassee. Okay, if they knew that game wasn't going to be played, they wouldn't have got on the plane the day before. It just seemed too convenient to me that 2 hours before kickoff, somehow mysteriously, that game's not played, and they load them back up on Delta and fly them back to South Carolina. That just seemed – I'm just too cynical to believe that game was ever going to really – that Florida State ever really wanted to play that game. Florida State is a disaster. That football program is as bad as it's been in decades. And they've got a lot of work and a long road back. It's going to take a while. They are the sixth best team in the state. Sixth. Yeah. There are 5 teams in the state of Florida that would dump these guys off the side of the road. They're terrible. They're a bad football team.
Yeah. Nat wants to know, did the Florida LSU game get canceled? It hasn't officially, but I think it's going to be. JC, we'll talk to you Wednesday, my man.
Okay. Listen to Scott Carter. Look forward to it.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. When we take our first time out here, when we come back, we'll be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware for all your promotional needs, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. Celebration Points, where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Skechers, Sushi Hana. Coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. Before we get to Scott, I'm going to do our Comfort Temp. This day in sports at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchased, $199 value. Our service department is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your convenience. In 2018, Phil Mickelson claims $9 million winner take all prize in the dramatic match play golf duel with Tiger Woods, finishing under the floodlights in Las Vegas. Match goes to the 22nd hole before Phil Mickelson sinks the 4-foot putt for the rich victory of $9 million. Our next guest makes about $9 million working for the FloridaGators.com. Scott Carter, how are you, my man?
Well, I need to hire you as my agent, Shane. That's the first thing. I'm doing well.
Would you be the first beat writer or website writer, whatever, senior writer making $9 million in college football?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would be in the record books forever, and I think that would be safe.
Well, Scott, Gators go to Vandy. It was a unique experience. Anytime you go play at Vandy, it's a unique experience. But you were on the trip. We talked about it briefly with JC. The team got dressed with their pants like in high school, got on the bus at the hotel, rode to the stadium, only got there about an hour before kickoff, never really went in the locker room. At halftime, went down in the end zone, did their meetings with their coaches. You ever see anything like that in college football?
No, I haven't. Not since my old days as a well-paid sports writer covering high school football have I seen something like that, Shane. We've talked about how unique this year has been in a lot of cases, but I think Saturday was the most unique so far, at least for the Gators on game day, because, most of these guys played in front of crowds bigger in their high schools. I mean, they announced around 1,147 there. That may have been all the personnel and all the people working at the stadium. If there were 300, 400 in the seats, I'd be shocked. It was just like a high school game. There was no setting, and they played this loud music throughout the game on the field, and that's something that Mullen mentioned after. That was definitely weird. But what you mentioned, Shane, is they got dressed and a lot of these precautions, the extra precautions, were due to what happened previously when they went on the road at Texas A&M and they had the outbreak. So they were trying to take some measures to limit that. And one way that they came up with, let's stay out of the visiting locker room as much as possible, because those are small spaces in college football. And they used it at Texas A&M, and you saw what happened. So they got dressed at the stadium, and they get over there, or at the hotel, they get to the stadium, they put their cleats on and their pads. And then at halftime, they stayed out. If you've been to Vanderbilt, you know that the visiting locker room there's like a hangover from the stands. So there's a pretty nice shaded area there, actually. So they just hung out there at halftime. If you had to go to the bathroom or something, you went into the locker room because it was pretty much empty. And the same thing after the game. They kind of took shifts to go in and shower. And, it was funny because I was sitting there thinking as I watched them, Mullen, after the game, he gives his post-game locker room speech right there in the corner of the field. And then they dispersed and they just spread out on the turf, and they had a post-game meal. They got delivery from a place in Nashville with these chicken sandwiches. So people grabbed the bag and just have their own picnic there as they were finishing up the game. It was different, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jeff McGrew, the head equipment guy, and his staff, all those young college boys, they're earning their pay this year, especially on a trip like that.
They really are. I mean,
hard on those guys. You mentioned, and I knew this because being a parent, I get the emails about the game day stuff, and I had forgotten, for whatever reason, Vanderbilt had not let anybody into the stadium until this Florida game, when you said there was probably 500 or 600 people tops. But why has Vanderbilt done that all year long, whereas all the other SEC teams have had 20% capacity?
Well, they had their outbreak, one of the first ones. I think the Vanderbilt game at Missouri was the first one in the SEC to get canceled this year. And they had a preseason outbreak there. So I think, combined with some extra precautions and also restrictions locally, that they're following, it just resulted in them really shutting it down almost to really parents and necessary personnel. So it is different than the rest of the SEC for sure, because most of those games in Nashville, they're they're not always sold out, but if they are, usually about 60% of the fans are Gator fans, and they have a strong contingent up there, and they usually turn out. So other than, the small pocket of parents who were there, Shane, for both teams, there was really no fans. And again, I think as long as I do this or whoever was there, they'll remember that one as probably the most unique SEC football game they've ever been to.
Yeah. To the game, Kyle Trask, the offense continues rolling right along. People can say they kind of had a sluggish start, but I thought he played well, made a lot of really good throws. I thought we made some good catches under duress. He got away with a couple of throws that could have been intercepted, but for whatever reason they weren't. But just your assessment of this offense, how they performed.
Whenever you get 586 yards, you're doing something right. Were they as sharp as they have been? No, I didn't think they were. And I thought the tone of the game, you wondered 11 a.m. local time, obviously no energy in the stadium except what you generate. And, they talked about it during the week between themselves, how that was going to be something they had to overcome. And right away, Vanderbilt takes the opening drive and they go down and score. So you sense that they were going to need a little time to get going in this game, and that's exactly what happened. I thought overall, once they got going, it looked good. I thought you're right on Trask. He wasn't as sharp as he was against Arkansas. He did miss a couple of throws. He slid early on that third down play. Mullins said he could have definitely cleaned some things up, and they had some drop balls. They made some good catches. I mean, Trayvon Grimes, his catch was one of the best of the season the Gators have had.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I saw Copeland drop one. They had another drop or two. So, again, it wasn't their best, but, on this day, they didn't need to be at their best because they were at such a advantage in talent. And, I give Vanderbilt some credit, too. That's a team that's winless, and they came out there and really put up a nice fight for the most part. And they're getting better, but they're not quite to where Florida is right now. In the end, the Gators put it away.
Yeah, defensively, what did Todd Grantham? I don't know if he talked after the game or not, but the first couple of drives, we were making wholesale substitutions, personnel, and they were catching us with too many men on the field, not getting lined up. And I felt like sometimes after the first couple of drives, you kind of feel what the other team is trying to do to you. Then you make adjustments. I felt like we didn't make a whole lot of wholesale changes after the first 2 or 3 drives kind of settled in. Did he talk about, that's our bad, they caught us off guard? What did Todd Grantham have to say about that?
Well, Todd, he'll talk tomorrow, Shane.
That's right.
Right after games. So obviously Dan was asked about it. The tempo of Vanderbilt seemed to really give them some trouble early. And I'm like you, the thing that I noticed the most was they look confused at times, just trying to get guys in and off the field. And some of that's Vanderbilt's tempo. That was probably their plan, but also I don't know if it caught them by surprise or what. But Mullen, he was kind of, I guess, he kind of guarded his comments a little bit. You could tell that he wasn't particularly happy with some of the things he saw, and maybe they'll look at some things this week because, they know that they're going to have to continue to get better there, and they have shown signs of improvement. But that one there, Vanderbilt just caused them a lot of trouble, and they look confused. And I just thought it was strange. I mean, that's about the best way I could put it. I don't know until we get them more this week and to talk to them more in depth about it, like what it was exactly causing the issue. If Vanderbilt caught them off guard with their tempo, again, what kind of changes can they make? I mean, it didn't really impact the game in the big picture, but Vanderbilt, they had 400 some yards. Their offense has been pretty good of late, but I didn't expect them to get that many yards.
Yeah, I like their little freshman quarterback. He looked pretty good. We got a text here on the Titan Mar text line. It comes from Jim. Scott, what is the status of Ventrell Miller?
Well, I think he's going to be a day by day, week by week right now. I think that's an injury that's going to probably impact him for the rest of the season. You get a shoulder injury like that, you could tell he was obviously in pain. And he tried to go to his credit, but it got too much there at times. So I'm sure he'll be reevaluated every week and maybe lighten up at practice some this week and see if he can get back out there. But yeah, he's definitely it was bothering. There's no question about that.
JC and I were talking earlier. There's been no indication or any announcement from the league office about that LSU game as of now, right?
Yeah.
Do you think we play that game?
I think is today the day we normally would find out that time. If we don't find out it soon, you're right. It's because they got Kentucky. No, in Tennessee, we should find out Tennessee today. My bad. And then LSU next Monday. So I know there's a lot of speculation about that, Shane. From everything I know internally, I haven't heard anything about that game being called off or not being played. But again, I mean, nothing with what's going on a week by week basis with all the cancellations and all the adjustments that are having to be made. If the schedule is where it's Alabama and Florida and they don't have any chance to be caught for the championship game, I can see that being something that happens. But at the same time, I have no inside knowledge of that happening right now.
Yeah, I don't see how the league can make Florida play a game and have Alabama sit at home on a bye week before the championship game. I just don't think that's right at all. We got another Facebook Live here brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. It comes from Rick. He wants to know how Trent Whittemore's doing. I actually spoke with his dad the other day. He's home. He's doing much better. I don't know if he'll play again this year. You heard anything about Whittemore's status?
Yeah, I mean, those kind of injuries, I'm like you. I doubt if he'll play again this year, but unless he's a fast tiller and has a high pain tolerance, because those usually take time. So you hate to see that, but he's a good piece of the puzzle going forward from what we saw this year.
Yeah, speaking of the receiving core, I said before the season on some national shows that I was on, everybody was so concerned you lose 4 guys who get drafted in the NFL. And I said, look, they got plenty of talent there. People just don't know about them. And what I don't know if the average fan notices, but Billy Gonzalez, and I don't know if they do this on purpose to keep people interested in the game, but they rotate a set of receivers every series. So our starting receivers are Grimes, Tony, and Copeland. I don't count the tight end. Those are the starting 3 receivers. They play the first series, and then the next series, you used to have Whittemore, Xavier Henderson, and I can't remember who else, but they alternate every series. Have you ever seen a college football team do that?
Not at the rate that they do it with Billy. I think that's one reason why he's always develops guys. I mean, to develop guys, you got to get them out there in pressure situations. I think it works with his approach because it not only produces results on the field, but it seems like the guys, their head stays in it. Like you said, I mean, if you're not playing much, it's easy to drift and maybe get discouraged. But I think that his approach works, and that's why he's got the reputation that he does, as a recruiter, as a X's and O's guys. And to me, Shane, he's really a big part of Dan Mullen's success. I mean, there's a reason that Mullen has kept him around for a lot of years and wants him to stay around, because he takes care of a huge part of that offense that is key to what they do to have success. So if I was a player, I'd love that kind of system, because you're going to get snaps every game.
Yeah, no doubt. Has Dan talked much about the offensive line? Because I know with the year that Trask is having, which is phenomenal, it's historical, and then all the playmakers around him. Personally, I think this offensive line has done a tremendous job. They played the true freshman Braun, I think, started in place of Reese. What are your thoughts on how the line has played so far and the status of Reese? Will he be back this week?
I think that talking about the offensive line, it started to get more attention last week. They probably brought up more than any other time this season with the coaches. And they said a lot of what you said. I mean, they have played at a high level. It's allowed Trask to have the kind of season he's having. And until this past week, it'd been the same 5 starters. But Reese, with that shoulder, he was hurt against Georgia. He played against Arkansas, but then he was out this week. They got Ethan White and Josh Braun back into the lineup. I thought if you're going to nitpick that performance, probably Trask was under more pressure this game than we've been seeing. But at the same time, the offensive line has still done a really good job. I think Stone Forsyth improvement at left tackle has really been big. He was a guy that Brian Johnson and Dan Mullen talked about last week. So, yeah, they're a big part of their success. And in a lot of ways, you look at Billy Gonzalez, Shane, John Hevesy fits that same mold as a Mullen guy. They've been together for a long time, and that's a position area that Mullen turns it over to Hevesy and said, hey, you take care of this. And he's done a really good job. And I think they've improved a lot from last year when there was some inconsistency there.
Yeah, no doubt. Scott, let everybody know how they can check out all your good stuff on FloridaGators.com. You got any good juicy articles you're working on?
I'm a Gators Scott on Twitter, FloridaGators.com on the web. And, last week I talked to a couple of guys who used to be in the quarterback room with Kyle Trask in high school. They were pretty funny to talk to. This week I'm trying to reach the guy who is most responsible for Kyle Trask being here. And some Gator fans, they probably don't like this name, but he's huge. Doug Nussmeier. I mean, he's the guy most responsible for Kyle Trask. He's now with the Cowboys. So trying to track him down to see what he thinks about what Kyle's done and, go from there.
What's interesting is the quarterback is so important, and Kyle's story is unbelievable. But when you look around college football, JC and I talked about this, Michigan has been horrible this year. They make a quarterback change, and Cade McNamara goes crazy.
Yep.
If they don't struggle, he doesn't get an opportunity. And then, it's just if Felipe doesn't go down with that injury, we don't know about Kyle Trask, and it's phenomenal.
It is an amazing story, and one that I think I read yesterday where he's clearly the front runner in the Heisman and by some of the odds now. I mean, if that happens, it's going to be – you got to go back to find a more far-fetched Heisman winner if that happens. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, Scott, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. We'll talk to you next week after Kentucky. Be safe, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Shane. Take care, buddy.
That's Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our final timeout. We'll be right back.
Hey, Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank JC Corndog for joining us on the program. He's taking a little lead on me on the Peachland Dentistry Weekend Picks. And our good friend Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Make sure you go check out all his good stuff on the website and also at Twitter at GatorScott. Tomorrow, we got Buddy Martin. And we got Doug Johnson, former Gator quarterback, we'll talk about his career briefly, but what he sees from Kyle Trask. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.